Welcome into another edition of the Leadership Library, hosted by CEO and author Rocky Romanella. Rocky is the author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, and has over 40 years of business experience as a prominent member of the UPS Supply Chain Solutions team, as well as the CEO of Unitech Global Services. So sit back, grab your notebook, and take a seat, and get ready for this edition of the Leadership Library.
Welcome to the Leadership Library. I'm your host, Rocky Romanella. You know, we're season 6 is really in that sort of first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. And so in the first quarter, there are a lot of things that you do that become part of a routine each year. We're going to talk a little bit in future episodes about this whole concept of the year-end reviews, which I think are so important to do. In sports, at the end of a season, everybody sits with the coaches and they talk a little bit about how they've progressed and where they are in the organization and what they need to work on in the off season. I think each year in a business, you really need to have that midpoint review and then that final year review. But before you get into the final year review, you're waiting for all the numbers to finalize for the year. And that may take, depending on your organization, the month of January, maybe half of February. So one of the things I like to do and like to talk a lot about in the beginning of the year is preparing for the year-end reviews, which we'll talk about in future episodes. But I also think it's an important time to take a moment and recognize those individuals in your lives that have been such an important part of your success. We call them, and we all talk about them as mentors. And I think it's important to take the time to think about those mentors, some who are with you today, some who you've had in the past, and some, unfortunately, who have passed away. But your recognition of those mentors, whether it's a simple thank you note to them, whether it's a simple opportunity for a quick phone call, hey, wanted to reach out to you, see how you're doing, just let you know you were such an important part of my development, part of my life, part of the things I do. Or talk about those individuals who are such an important part of your life that may have passed on, but you remember them by the way you talk about them, by the way you share the things they taught you along the way with the people in your care presently. So I think it's important to always take the time, and I always like to use the beginning of the year to think about those mentors who were so important to me, and taking the opportunity to sending them a note maybe, or maybe a quick phone call, keeping those who have passed in my thoughts and prayers and their family in my thoughts and prayers. And sharing what they've done for me is my way of recognizing them. I talked about that in my first newsletter of 2023. And I will tell you, I've got such great response back from people who both talked about creative and innovative ways that they recognize their mentors, and many who just simply said, look, you know what? It was that simple act of kindness of picking up the phone and calling them or writing them a note that made them and me feel well. But so many people reached out after that newsletter to let me know that they took the time to do that. And I was honored to be part of that conversation. And I think it's so important to recognize those individuals, whichever way you're the most comfortable doing it, for the things they've done for you, the help they've given you along the way, and the impact they've had on your life, both personally and professionally. So take the opportunity to recognize those mentors, and it could just simply be a, hey, thanks, wanted to reach out and let you know, you've been such an important part of my success. Thank you once again for listening to the Leadership Library, and we will talk soon.